some bunnies with a bazooka dunk.
Way downtown. Bang! Bang!
Mama, there goes that man.
Welcome to A Tribe Called Swish. As always, we got me, B More, and now we got Kev from Ohio. We're running a 2-on-1 break right now. As always, brought to you by Southern Edge Beverage Company. Like, subscribe, share. Don't be a hater your whole life. How you feeling, Kev?
Man, good, my brother. Good, man. It's getting cold though. The weather's
Bro.
changing. You know, I say,
I know.
old folks would say this pneumonia weather. You know,
For real, man. We went from hot to cold, and now
oh man,
it's like it got cold as the day went on, bro. Like
it did.
hey man, we are some old men. We starting the podcast about the weather.
Bone cold, rubbing my knees while I talk to you. Like, yeah, man.
No doubt. So, yo, man, we got a lot to talk about today. The East is wild. The East is heating up. Things starting to settle down. Giannis saying that he might pass LeBron in a few years, and I think Lamelo might be done in Charlotte. And then we're gonna do our new game, this or that. So
Okay.
we're gonna kick it off with, yo, the East is wild right now. I'm like the team that early in the season we're like, oh, the Bulls are good. Now the Bulls are, the Sixers are really good. Now the Sixers are, and now the Raptors are that team.
Right.
Detroit, they just had a big win against Atlanta, and Atlanta's been pretty hot even without Trae. What I saw in that last 2 minutes of that Detroit Atlanta game, hey man, Cade is clutch. I don't know, like man, there's not many people in the fourth quarter who I can really pick over him to have the ball right now. Like this moment, not historically, just for this moment.
Yeah,
man, he looked great closing them out.
He did. I love his ability to create, off the dribble. He'll get to the cup. He can finish with either hand. I saw him working out with is it Brinkley, the individual guy as he out of New Jersey. He works for a lot of pros, and so he was just saying Cade has one of the best left hands he's seen. Of course, Cade is a dominant right hand player.
Right.
So I just said it to say, Cade is tough. And if you go back a few shows ago, we were talking about, is he there? And I'm like, he's there, and it feels good seeing Detroit, being taken seriously, because they've had such a big gap of just not being good. And
absolutely,
I'm not gonna put the Chauncey Billups cloud over the organization, but it's kind of like it's just good to see Detroit in a driver's seat.
Yeah, they've got a balanced team. I mean, it does kind of remind me a little bit of that team, of that, the Chauncey team, because but they don't have a Rasheed Wallace. They don't have big personalities. They just have a good balanced team, because Duran is a beat, like, yo, he like I don't know why, but he's a big dude. Pause.
He is.
But but he can move. Like he has good footwork, And I saw Thompson. He's coming through. Like this Detroit team is really exciting to watch, and we haven't been excited about a Detroit team in forever.
Very long time. Joe Dumars is doing a good job there. You think about how they're assembling things by way of the draft. It's not like they're bringing in, they're killing it through free agency. That's not really the case, but I like what they're building. I think, to your other point, the other teams kind of flip-flop, and or more so Toronto. That Toronto team, but you think about it, they got a lot of pieces. Emmanuel quickly, tough, leading the ship. And it's funny, I was intrigued to see what they would be, minus Van Leet. But he's kind of like grabbed the reins. And when you think back when he got there, because they initially had, was it Schroeder? They had another point guard there, and he kind of beat him out.
They got rid of Schroeder. Yeah.
So I love his play. I love Brandon Ingram. He's just that guy. His game is fluid. It's more so you're looking to see him in playoff basketball, but he's just a good player when he's healthy. And they got so many. Then you look at Scotty Barnes. He's such a Army Swiss knife. It's like his length gives bigs trouble. His quickness gives small guards issues, and he plays with a lot of grit. So that Toronto team is tough.
Yeah, and it's in my mind, I call them the New York Knicks North, because they've got so many former Knicks players on that team.
Right.
But Emmanuel quickly taking over the PG duties, that's been big for them. But Brandon Ingram, man, like I mean, honestly, I left him for dead because when he was in New Orleans, and even at last year after the trade, he just didn't seem right. Because remember, coming out of Duke, they're like, he's the next Kevin Durant. He's slim, he's tall, and you've seen those glimpses, but now in year 6, something like that, 6, 7, something like that and he hasn't really achieved that point, but he seems really comfortable in Toronto. Like he just, I watched that game. I think who they played Sunday. I think Saturday, Sunday, and he hit that big bucket in the clutch. He's just like he's comfortable. That team is comfortable. Quickly, RJ Barrett is starting to play like the player that we thought he was. Like, coming out of high school, they're like, he's the next Ray Allen, which is a wild thing to say. If anybody, for people who are listening, if you remember what Ray Allen was coming out of high school and college, that was a wild thing to say to RJ Barrett, because that's a high bar. But this Toronto team is they're good. And then we have the Knicks. The Knicks who we talk about every week, but the Knicks seem to be chugging along,
I know.
Figuring things out as they go. I know this pod is not very high on Mike Brown, but right now they're number 3 in the East, and so they're having some success.
Yeah, they got, but you think about top to bottom, they have a lot of pieces. I mean, again, they're not even playing. Oh, so you got Jordan Clarkson, he's finally starting to get minutes. Obviously, McBride's getting minutes, and then there's one more guard that they picked up. I'm trying to think from Portland. They're not even playing. You know the guard I'm referring to,
Yeah.
But they're not playing him. But they got such depth there. Obviously, Josh Hart's still gonna do him. Mikal
Right.
Bridges, so they just have a lot of pieces, and I'm glad that depth is kind of carrying them through because I still don't feel like they necessarily have an identity. I think
They
Karl
don't.
Anthony Towns, he's up and down. I think I'm one of those people that try not to give him a bad rap, but sometimes it's tough. I mean, lately what's been trending is Mikal Bridges outward, discomfort with him and his defensive effort, and that's
Oh
kind of
wow,
getting
it is. That's the thing. Like Bridges, Cat, the defense, like it's nasty out there, man. Like they're traffic cones right now, man. Like it is really defensively. And again, I think that goes back to what Tibbs did with him. Tibbs were able to kind of hide. Tibbs hit with what his coaching, his style, his strategies. He hid a lot of their defensive weaknesses because there's nobody really. I mean, outside of maybe Mitchell Robinson, Josh Hart, I guess, who you would really consider a really good defender, honestly. And Tibbs hid that a lot. And now they can't, they couldn't stop my grandma. I'll be like, they're bad. They're bad on defense.
Right, and that's what playoff basketball will do. It'll expose your vulnerabilities, So they got time to right the ship. I still feel like I could foresee some roster changes there, even though to your point they're third. But that Nick team is intriguing, and I wouldn't necessarily want to play them because they can kind of emerge. They could get hot. I like a Knicks Raptors playoff series because also you got the element of Emmanuel Quickly being a former Knickerbocker. So that could really heat up. But the East is something.
The East is something, and then even the teams that aren't that good right now, like Milwaukee, they're still playing a good brand of basketball. Like you got the Cavs, your boys, they're not. It's they just it's tough in Cleveland right now because no one knows how good or how bad this team is right now because you watch them one night and they look like world beaters. You watch them another night and they look like they couldn't beat anybody.
Yeah. To your point, that's an excellent point. It's like we'll lose to a team that you expect us to beat, and then a team that we're supposed to beat. We'll beat them, but it's just something like that with us. I think the interesting thing too is we're trying to get Garland back in the mix. I don't think Lonzo Ball really is kind of having an impact thus far that we really wanted. But I have faith in our GM Kobe. He tends to bring in the right pieces. He brought in a Hunter last season. I wanted him to hang on to Levert, but I just say that to say you can have a lot of things going on, but yet when you have a good GM, it makes a difference. So I trust our GM. We just gotta wait and see.
For sure. I am confused about this Atlanta Hawks team because Trae Young has been out and they've played better.
Right.
And it's I don't like that discussion of like, are they better without Trae Young?
Right.
There's not many teams that you're gonna get better when your all-star is not playing, right?
True.
But they are playing better since he went out the lineup. They balled tonight, even though they lost. They play ball. Jalen Johnson has been a beast. Dyson Daniels is awesome, is amazing. This team is playing good basketball right now. And
Mm-hmm.
when Trae gets back, he will have to get in where he fits in. And
Nice, Trae.
he's never been that type of player.
No, that's an excellent point though, man. But they have a lot of guards over there too.
Yeah,
And I think it's going to show. It's similar to the situation I've been echoing about with Memphis and when Scottie Pippen Jr. gets back. When your star player, whether they're disgruntled, whether they're hurt, you kind of start seeing how expendable they are a little bit when you look at the position that they play. They can get a lot of pieces if they trade Trae Young, and yeah, you'll lose a prime time player who's ready for the moment, but can I really address this roster? And I probably
right.
could. I would love to see. I would love, again, going back to it. I would love to see some address changes. We got a lot of point guards who maybe are in need of a new home. But Atlanta, to your point, they are playing much better. But I don't think, if the playoffs started tomorrow, they would be a threat. You need Trae Young.
Oh no, yeah. You need, like, this is cute for November, December. This is real cute right now. But when
Right.
March and April come along, Trey needs to play,
You need
because
ice,
Trey is the
Trae.
only one that has the deep playoff run.
Hmm.
He knows what it's like
Yeah.
for when those lights get bright.
Yeah.
And players can say what they want to say. It's just another game. But we've seen these great regular season players
Yeah.
fold in a 7-game series
Good point.
year after year.
Yes, sir. Yes,
So
sir.
so Giannis made headlines last week saying that he foresees himself possibly passing LeBron on the all-time scorers list. Now, I am not a math genius by
Mm-hmm.
any means, but he's going to have some Wilt Chamberlain type seasons
Yeah.
for him
Yeah.
to do that. Now, look, it's possible Giannis might play as long as LeBron.
Right.
Maybe that's possible, but he's going to have to do it at a high level for
Yeah.
that long time. So my question for you is, what level of high was Giannis? Was he heroin? Was it crack? Or because I am not sure what he was thinking.
Right. I don't know. It definitely it definitely is not Frank Lucas. It might have been stepped on a little bit, Blue Magic. But you know what? But Giannis, man, I think he has the perfect nickname, the Freak, Greek the Freak. You look at his skill set, you look at his size, you look at all of the things that kind of make him him, and he's very unique. I think for him to make that claim, I get it. I'm not disagreeing with him, but I'm also not agreeing. I think there's a lot of things that have to go your way. Durability, the team that you're on, skill set. And I think when we look at Greek's game, his game is his game. He's gotten more refined, things like that. But the jump shot, you wouldn't say is wet. You wouldn't say
Right.
that he creates a lot of easy buckets off the dribble. I think when he gets close enough to turn around and dunk, he'll dunk. If he's close enough to finish, he'll finish. So I think one thing in getting that scores list, LeBron's package is he can shoot off the dribble, give you the long three. He's adding to it now as we speak, and I don't feel like unless Greek gets to that level, I can't see him surpassing the King.
Yeah, and that's what he's going to need to do once he gets a little bit older, because he's
Hmm.
not going to be able to just to body everybody, go
Right.
coast to coast, run the break like how he does,
Hmm.
and he's going to need that mid range jump shot to get more consistent. He may not even need to develop a 3-point shot,
Yeah.
but if he can develop a mid range and
Yep.
improve his free throws, like
Yeah.
people say this all the time. If Shaq could make 70% of his free throws, I mean,
Right.
Shaq
Right.
Shaq would have been close to the top
Right.
of that list, but Shaq couldn't. But it's going to be the same story with Giannis. I mean, Giannis is giving away points where he could. If Giannis, I think he's like a 60% free throw shooter this year. So if
Hmm.
Giannis was a 75% free throw shooter, I mean,
Yeah.
he can lead the league in scoring every year, no
Hmm.
problem. But
Hmm.
I think that's the big thing, is that what we see, these players, their first half of career, they can light it up. And
Yeah.
something that LeBron, again, a LeBron podcast, something that LeBron's
Yeah.
something that LeBron's been able to do throughout his career is score at different levels, free throws.
Yep.
His 3-point shot has improved
Yep.
over the course
Yep.
of his career.
Yep.
Jump shot has improved,
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's while his shot selection and his shot making ability has improved, it's now something he hadn't dealt with in his career is his health. He's having health issues this side of his career, which is normal, but that's not something we saw really pre like Lakers. I guess second season on the Lakers really when it's really started going downhill for his health. But he would miss a game here and there, but not he's been healthy, and I think that's been the biggest thing. I mean, from like 18 to like 35, he's been he was the picture of health.
Absolutely. We talk about this. He spends $1 million on his body. If that's true, and I know I
Right.
believe he's kind of dispelled that rumor, but if that's true, isn't it worth it? I mean, isn't it worth it? You're a year 23. Just the other day in a shop, we're debating, is these particular, can you name 15 players better than him in the league? And even if you can, think about that. He's still in year 23, and we're debating him being top 20 in the league. It's just sensational.
Yeah, like it gets. I mean, so now I got to think about this now. So because I think that's fair. I think honestly, I would even say he's top 10. I would say he's probably number 10.
It's
Honestly,
something. And he's only
because I
23.
mean it's even though he hasn't played that well, so we kind of really this so far because he returned from injury, he's still trying to find his way. So we're still kind of getting what his last kind of peak was last year.
Right.
I would still say because I believe with something that Charles Barkley always said, he can toward the end of your career, I can give you greatness occasionally. I just can't give it to you every night. And like I know if the Lakers need LeBron to score 30 on any given Tuesday, easy. But you need to do them a Tuesday and Thursday, scary hours. Because that Thursday game will be kind of rough. So
Right.
yeah. I mean, I would still say even at this age, LeBron's probably a top 10, top 11 player in the league.
Yep, and that's something. I bet it just speaks to how his greatness. And I not to knock Giannis. I think Giannis has that special knack about him too. Because you think about it, year after year, between his physical physique, just filling out, and his determination, he works hard even in the off season. So I think it's there, but you're gonna need a lot more things to line up before he passes him on that list. Oh, and
For
another
sure.
thing to consider. LeBron recently passed Reggie Miller on 3-point list. And
Which is
that's
wild.
beyond it being a longevity thing because you can play these years, but if the jump shot hasn't gotten refined, you're not
Yeah.
passing him on the list. But to pass Reggie Miller is impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So one of my favorite teams that I like to watch, the lovable losers, Charlotte. They're trying to blow this game in Brooklyn right now that I'm kind of peeking at. Miles Bridges just got dunked on.
Oh.
Yikes. So over the weekend, they had a tough matchup that they went to overtime with. And the coach pulled Lamelo in the fourth quarter, and the game went to overtime, and they won. And you're starting to wonder. The question has to be asked: do they need him? Because they got that rookie. They got the rookie Knipple from Duke, and he is actually he's on pace to break Steph Curry's rookie record for 3-pointers. That boy is balling. And so I don't know. I mean, LaMelo might start to be expendable if they're starting to see that, hey, we have a good core with Bridges, Knipple, and Brandon Miller, and this could be the team we run with, So what do you think? Should he be done in Charlotte?
You know what? Absolutely. I think we've had I don't know, we debated on the show, but I've been in other debates where we talked about with his style of play, can you win a championship? Have we seen his skill set or that style of play lead the charge? And I don't know of anything in recent history in which it can. I feel like LaMelo's time there, it's more potential. I feel like the perfect nickname for Joel Embiid was the process, right? And I think
Yeah.
we're waiting and waiting and waiting for LaMelo, and I just don't think we're gonna get it. I think we've seen the best of what we see out of him. He's a good guard. He can score. He can facilitate, but he's not the vocal leader that you need. He's not. Imagine LaMelo's skill set with Chris Paul's temperament. You know what I
Right.
mean? He would just be a total different player, but he's not. He's of this era, of this generation. His influences are different, but I just don't think he's that structured, disciplined player that you need him to be. And I would look to trade him. I would.
Do you think that it's because his route to the league wasn't normal? Because he got yanked out of high school, in 10th grade, Then they took him over to Europe, to Croatia for a while. Then he went to Australia. Then he came to the league. And so and I mean, his dad, shout out to LeVar Ball. He predicted all the stuff. Listen, he says a lot. He said a lot of stuff that I may agree or disagree with him. But at the end of the day, he was right. Well, he was 2 out of 3 right. Because the middle son, he kind of,
Right.
But hey, he got a contract for Def Jam. But do you think that that's what really kind of limited like his growth and his development as a player?
Good question. Good question. I don't know that we'll ever really know the answer. I will say players grow sometimes for good coaching. Let's say you put him under a Coach K system during that time, LaMelo's game may be different. You put him under, let's just say a Bobby Huggins, or put him under
Right.
Michigan State's coach. You just put him under that tutelage, his game would develop, and even socially, it may have impacted him just to college life. So that his journey being unorthodox was successful because he made it to the promised land.
Yeah.
But yet there is glaring holes in what you need. When you're just not, he could have benefited from March Madness, but I understand the non-traditional road that he took. To your point, his father essentially made the right decision because your son still made it. He's successful. He's a millionaire. Still has opportunities to do whatever he wants to do, even outside of basketball. So I think it's a tough thing, be more, but I think in the end we'll just really never know.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like that hurt his game, and when we talk about these players, we always have to say that, look, you're right. At the end of the day, he made it to the league. He was a lottery pick, made it to the league, got his version of a max contract on his extension. So look,
Right.
he has won at life, right? So
Right.
when you put that aside and you look of like what could have been, right? What
Right.
could have been if he stayed at what was not Oak Hill, the high school and that he went to, now it escapes me. If he stayed at a high school, if he would have, even if he would have stayed home and went to UCLA or USC and had that 1 year, even just to be around his peers, be around other players like him. He's 14, 15, goes off to Croatia. Like like that is a culture shock. You are a Southern California kid, excuse me, and you go off to Croatia, stay there for a year or two
without your parents,
then go to Australia for a year, and then like you're trying to deal with adolescent life stuff, and then on top of that, trying to play basketball with grown adults
men,
who
right?
don't, and in Croatia, who don't speak your language, who you're trying to kind of navigate that. Because of course, I remember they documented this on like, because they had their little show. So just him as a kid. I remember him as a kid just trying to figure this out, and just like like he again, he made it to the promised land, but man, what he could have been, just he could have. I just wonder if he could have still had that, that loose cannon style, but still be able to be in a system of a coach that could be able to kind of reel it in. Like, okay, I'm gonna let you cook when you need to, but you need to understand when it's time to reel it in.
And so it's so good that you bring that up. It's like I saw some of the potential suitors were the Pelicans, the Kings, and it was Minnesota. So I think out of them teams, I think I mentioned it weeks back. I would love to see him with Ant-Man, and I want to see how you can flip the switch when it's not hero ball. When it kind of goes back to Russell Westbrook, during his time with OKC, when it was just Russ was just a show. It's just hero ball. Y'all always down. I'm not saying you're chasing stats, but it's like the games are meaningless to a point. It's not going to win a championship. And I feel like, well, LaMelo, you put him with the Timberwolves, you're probably going to the playoffs. You're gonna, have a good matchup. I need you to not be flashy, but sometimes that two-hand chest pass is better than the no look. You know what I mean? And then in these weighing moments, I need you to be efficient. I don't know that LaMelo can give me that style of play because, again, when have I seen it? I didn't see it in college, high school. I'm not really up and all about that. And then what you did abroad is cool. You refine the game, but I need to see you, when it's come NBA playoff time, when it matters most. I don't know that he can do that.
And I don't think he's going to go to Minnesota, because I think there was a story that came out that said when during that because Minnesota had a lottery pick that year, and
Mm-hmm.
they interviewed him, and they were like, where do you see yourself, post league? And he was like, I want to be president of the United States. And they were like, okay, this kid is not serious. So,
Right, 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 right.
so he won't end up in Minnesota. So, all right. So,
Let's see.
we're gonna go with our new. So we'll go with our new bit, this or that. This is going
Okay.
to be a present versus a past a past versus present comparison.
Okay.
So we spoke about both of these guys earlier in the show, but Ray Allen versus Cade Cunningham. Who you
Wow.
taking?
Ooh, good one, man. Give me Cade Cunningham. The reason why I take Cade over Ray is that, I feel like Ray has not really been asked to facilitate. He's been in
Mhm.
so many situations where it's catch and shoot. It plays to Ray's strengths. You got to kind of go back to UConn to see him at the top of the key, kind of facilitating these epic battles against AI. But his time in Boston, catch and shoot. Rondo's leading the show. You find a spot. Miami, D Wade, LeBron. You find a spot, catch and shoot. And I feel like, whereas with Cade, he can't catch and shoot to the level of Ray Allen. However, he can create his own shot. He can facilitate. He's a much better defender. So if I'm just focusing on basketball and an attribute list, I feel like Cade Cunningham does more than Ray Allen.
And see, I think you're forgetting Milwaukee Bucks Ray Allen, because Ray Allen did those things. He spot up, he shot the ball, he had great handles.
Yeah.
Ray Allen was a bucket. I mean, Ray, for quiet as kept, Ray Allen's games with a lot of these players kind of mimicked themselves with, because
Hmm.
early Ray was very athletic. And you're right, when he went to Boston, he was definitely way more catch and shoot. His athleticism
Hmm.
was started to leave him by
Hmm.
that time. But he already had his years in Seattle, his years in Milwaukee.
Hmm.
So that I'm gonna pick Ray Allen. Now,
I
just
get
for clarity, Ray Allen's from South Carolina, so I'm pretty much always gonna go with the hometown kid. So
it. I respect it.
but
I respect it.
but yeah, but Ray was a dog, man. And
Yeah.
Ray had it all. Like he
Mhm.
was fun to watch on those Seattle and Milwaukee teams. They weren't going to win anything, but Ray was putting up crazy numbers though.
Absolutely. You know what? That you bring up an excellent point. That Milwaukee Ray feels like Jesus Shuttlesworth. I'm with
Yes,
you.
that's exactly what it was. That's
I'm with you.
exactly what he was. That was Jesus Shuttlesworth for real.
That's
All
a good
right,
point.
all right. Our next one, Tyrese Maxey, Gilbert Arenas, and I'm talking about Hibachi Wizards, Gilbert Arenas.
Man, you know what? I have to go Agent Zero. I gotta go with Hibachi just because his ability to score was just so. Oh, it was just lights out. Would he give Kobe 60? You
Yes,
know,
and
just man, Gil, his
he won't
confidence.
stop talking about it.
I know. His skill set was through the roof, man. He had the persona, he had a handle. He missed them free throws in that Cavs series,
Yeah,
but but for the most part, Gil was lights out, and I think Maxi, while he's a really good player offensively, Gilbert Arenas is just there's no comparison, just because he scored the ball much easier than Maxi. He had a better jump shot than Maxi. Maxi may have a better overall motor, and maybe you see as his size he starts to develop, so he'll probably be more durable. The
yeah.
longevity will be there with Tyrese Maxey, but Gilbert Arenas, I'm taking Agent.
You, you know what? I'm gonna have to agree with you, man. It's like Tyrese Maxey isn't quite there yet, and
Mhm.
we're probably going on maybe I guess season 1.5 of Tyrese really running
Yeah.
the show, of us really kind of getting to know what he
Hmm.
can really do.
Hmm.
But man, what Hibachi did in DC, hey man, that
Man.
man. I know we just think of him as a joke kind of, because he always has jokes for his podcast. Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second. I gotta pause it. All right. I know we always remember, like, because he's on this podcast tip, and he's always, always making jokes. But the reality was, Gilbert was a beast when he was healthy, and when those knees are right, and he was, yeah, man.
He's tough.
Yeah, and we talked about this before, and I'm glad like a player like Gilbert Arenas has a podcast, because I think people forget how good he was, because he wasn't a champion. He
Hmm.
wasn't, he wasn't really all in me. He may all be in there once or twice, so he wasn't
Right.
in those talks. but
Right.
he that was what a time to be alive to watch Gilbert Arenas ball like that on TNT.
He was box office, and to your point, and it's tough. That's the cruel part about the game, man. So many great players. It's always the what if, what if Penny Hardaway, what if Grant Hill, just so many what ifs, and
Oh,
uh, unfortunately,
the,
Gilbert is on that same list. What if the knees didn't go out, and it's
yeah,
just but he was
man.
sensational.
The Grant Hill what if is so like
Yeah,
when you just look at the league was just ready for him to take like it was perfect timing. He came to league, Jordan was leaving. It was perfect. It was like him, Shaq. It was the perfect
it was.
time for him. And
Right.
his body, man, his body just didn't hold up.
That. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Next one. An OKC special. Shea versus Russell Westbrook.
I like it. I like it. I like it. But to me, it's actually a no brainer. I go Shea. I think
Okay.
Shea is much more efficient, offensively. I feel like for just the point guard position, I think he's not necessarily better at it. I just think that his size being 6'7" and his ability to score is just surpasses Russell. Now Russell, his motor is just unlike anyone else's. You don't average a triple double if you don't have a motor. And I think Shea doesn't play at that pace. It's not as
Right.
frantic and rigid, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. I like slow and methodical too. I like tactical. You know, so
Yeah.
I think Shea is just a better player, but Russell Westbrook is lights out as well.
there was no there weren't many more exciting player than MVP Russ. That year, what he did was just for me was just one of the best like basketball that I've seen.
Yeah,
It didn't feel real to see him just do everything. And as you stated
right.
earlier, you're right.
Triple double.
You,
Right.
you're right. Championship wasn't on the line. I think they got to the playoffs as like as a bottom seed, and they and they were
Yep.
barely over. Were barely at 500,
Yep.
but that shows you how great he was.
Hmm.
That as he was on a 500 team, and they're like, no, we got MVP
Yep.
because this is absolutely unreal,
Yep. Yep. In
and
the
the fact,
West.
yeah, and something that also doesn't get talked about enough is that he averaged a triple double for like 3 years straight. And like he made it so that people were like, "Oh, a triple." People started to devalue the triple double because
Right.
he made it look so easy. And that is, I think that's kind of one of the sad parts about Russ. Like, look, we've said this before on this podcast. There will never ever be Russell Westbrook slander on this podcast,
Hmm.
because what Russ has given to the game and how great he was during that time, amazing. So I gotta give it to Russ. Shea is
Okay.
gonna always, when it's all said and done, she's gonna have more hardware. He's gonna have
Yeah.
the numbers and every. He's gonna have some of the numbers,
Right.
but he's gonna have the most important one of championship, unless Russ gets to
Championships.
be at the end of a bench toward in the next couple seasons. But
Yeah.
yeah, I gotta go. I won't pick Russ over Shea because I just, even though I know if it's clutch time,
Hmm.
I want Shea to have the ball. But when I'm looking at
Hmm.
the total package, I do say moving the attribute sliders of what I
Hmm.
want in a player. I
Hmm.
gotta go Russ. I gotta go
Yeah,
Russ.
man, and then I might need to rethink it. You're right, because what I love about Russ is his mental fortitude. Look how Ben Simmons handled scrutiny.
Yeah.
Look how it kind of just broke him. He just dissolved, right?
Mhm.
And then now he's out of the league. Whereas Russell, had to deal with the scrutiny that he got when he played with the Lakers, and then what happened? The resurgence with Denver, and now it's like, okay, Russ is looking like Russ, and now we're in Sacramento. Now he's a starter. It's just Russell Westbrook is just the antithesis of someone who gives up. He works really, really hard, and I respect his game. And to your point, you might need to rewind it. Let's edit it. I'm going with Russell. I'm going with Russell.
All right. Yeah, I convinced them.
Yes,
Yeah, look at that. Changing minds and hearts. All right.
sir.
Next one. Kind of a contrast. Well, kind of contrasting styles a little bit. Jokic versus Akeem Olajuwon.
Wow, wow. Oh man, that's such a how the the evolution of basketball has changed. During that era of Hakeem, bigs were bigs, and think about bigs were getting MVPs, they was getting
Mhm.
scoring titles, they were doing all that, but predominantly in the post mid ranges. Whereas Joe Kick, man, he takes you to the 3-point line. He's gonna lead the team in rebounds, assists. He might lead the team in steals. His just game is just is everything, right? But I'm taking the dream. I'm taking the dream because he's a much better defender. And that's the one knock on Jokic is
Yep.
that defensively he's barbecue chicken, and it's kind of like but Akeem on both sides of it, he's gonna give you 34 and 11 and 5 blocks. He could just do both. So I think what separates them is such a vast margin defensively. I can't even compare the two. I'm
Yep.
taking Akeem.
Same. And my biggest reason is Akeem did this in the era of centers, and Akeem was really 6'9". So Hakeem was 6'9", played him again. And when you look at him defending Shaq, he
Right.
looks 6'9". Like
Yeah.
I think he was listening at like 6'11" and 7 feet, and sometimes. But when you look, no, him and David Robinson not the same height. Him and Shaq not the same height. So he was not a 7-footer. He was probably closer to Barkley than Shaq. When we think about it. So yeah, Akeem, great footwork, great score. In the paint, mid range, but when he needed to, great free throw shooter, and
Hmm.
just a great team leader.
Ask Vernon Maxwell. He gave Vernon nice. You're right. Right. Stop talking about it. Man,
Yes, I know you don't
Akeem
want
don't.
Brennan to keep telling
I,
that story.
Akeem don't play, man. But yeah, that's ooh. I like it, but Akeem was that guy.
For real, for real. All right, and last one, kind of a throwback one. We're gonna go Zion versus Grandmama Larry Johnson. So,
Oh,
so
Larry.
yeah, so I think there are more similarities between these two than probably people think. You know,
Mm,
just looking at it,
hmm.
because Larry Johnson coming out of UNLV was that explosive,
Yeah.
smaller power
Yeah.
forward that Zion was. Now Zion has a better jump shot than Larry at this point in his career because he got that later on in his career.
Hmm.
He didn't have that come out of college because that wasn't expected.
Hmm.
But explosiveness, athleticism,
Yeah.
Larry Johnson was that guy.
Yeah.
Zion with Zion is playing this season, and Zion
Hmm.
is looking good, but
Hmm.
that team is so bad that nobody cares that Zion is
Hmm.
playing, and that's also kind of a sad thing that we've been waiting
Hmm.
for Zion to be on the court and balling, and he is, but that team is so bad that no one's even looking at him. So
Hmm.
when you just look at what they actually did on the court
Yeah.
and the availability, which is, as you say, is the best ability.
There we
You
go.
know, I'm gonna go with Larry Johnson, man. I've seen what
Yeah.
this man has done, and when it comes to Zion, I'm still hoping and waiting to see what he's going to do.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm with you on that, man. Weeks ago, we were debating whose career would you rather have, R.J. Barrett or Zion Williamson. And I
Mm,
and I respond to your question with that because it goes back to the availability. Like Larry Johnson, you can go back to his days at Charlotte, was in a lineup. Him
yep,
and Zoe going at it, trying to get out of the East, go over to the Knicks. He's all of those Miami Heat epic battles. He was there. I hated that when it was time for them to finally get over the hump and play the Spurs. He was nicked up in that finals way back
yep.
when. So I don't even think there's a comparison. I think Zion has to take this year and give me 8 more years like this to even put him in a conversation with Larry Johnson. Larry Johnson was a really good player. He had the mid range, had
Hmm.
he was marketable.
Yep,
Grandmama, everyone had that.
for real.
And you tell me another athlete minus Magic Johnson had Converse. A leading edge, people wanting to go buy them Larry Johnsons.
Right.
So Larry was that guy. Zion has to do much more to be in a debate with Larry.
Yeah, man. And Larry Johnson was the perfect timing because
Yeah.
those Charlotte Hornets started jackets too went
Yeah.
so hard, right? Like those joints went so hard.
That
So that was a thing. So
Yeah,
you're right. The grandma marketing, like those were things that he did. And
absolutely.
what I respected most about him when his athleticism left him because of his back injury, that mid-range jumper became money for him. He was still able to do the post. Maybe he was in the post. He had great footwork. So
Absolutely.
yeah, man. Yeah, I gotta go with Larry Johnson, man.
Think think of, think about what Larry, the epic fight with Alonzo with Van Gundy on his leg.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Larry's been in he's been in a whole bunch of stuff, man. But Larry Johnson was definitely that guy, and it's something. Go back to, like you said, UNLV, Greg Anthony, Plastic Man with Stacey Augman,
Yeah.
Jerry Tarkanian with the towel he chewed on. Larry came in ready. You know what I mean?
He,
So
well, Larry was like 28 years old.
with the goal, and he had a goal too, and he had a goal too.
Yo, again, another one of those players who don't get talked about nearly enough,
Right.
because another player from that era, like Anthony Mason, man, R.I.P.
Right.
But we didn't see a power forward like that with handles, like who could
Oh,
move like Anthony Mason, man.
yeah.
Yo, like that Knicks team was special. They
Right.
didn't, they could not win, but that Knicks team had some
Oh,
characters and some
I
people
know.
on it.
I know. Oh man, you're absolutely right. I love those Knicks teams. Look at between Derek Harper, between John Starks, Allen Houston. They
Yeah,
had so many pieces. But to your point, Anthony Mason definitely revolutionized the point forward position because he was a lefty, but he could handle the ball. You know what I mean?
yep.
And I loved him. And we ain't got to big up the Biggie song, but Anthony Mason was that.
Yeah,
Anthony
yeah,
Mason was
yeah.
that guy. He was that guy.
For a fact. And look, I will never forgive Charles Smith for what he did in that play. Like him fumbling,
Right.
dropping the ball, like,
Oh man.
man, I will never forget. Like, and look, I'm not even a Knicks fan, but I
I
remember
know.
watching that game with my dad. I'm just like, what is happening? Like, why can't he
Oh, that's
pick the ball up?
heartbreaking.
It was,
Heartbreaking.
yeah, like yeah, man. Oh man, yeah, those are good times for real.
It was.
So, all right, man. We know what that was our topics for the day. We're gonna wrap this up.
Yes, sir.
Next episode might return back to the 3-man weave. J Money said he was too good for us today.
Right,
He had
right,
things to
right.
do. So,
We held it down. We held it down.
exactly, for sure. But before we sign off, final thoughts. What you got?
Man, you know what? I like to touch base on some boxing.
All
We
right,
had
let's go.
Devin Haney get over the hump, and I just love the fact that, shout out to Brian Norman. Brian Norman is definitely up and coming, and he'll probably be champion again in the future. But Devin Haney goes back to that mental fortitude. It's something when the world is coming down on you, telling you that you're not this or that you're not that, and you rise through it and you vindicate and you win your fight. And I was really proud of Devin Haney and the way he beat Brian Norman. I love that, he kept his faith first. He stayed being a dog. So just kudos to him. And then football, right now it looks like them Patriots are all over them Giants right now. So I feel bad for my guys in parlays. I feel your pain, fellas. But but just lock in. It's gonna be a good year.
Man, I needed Drake May to have a bad game so I could beat our boy Mike in fantasy, and that
Oh,
is not happening. So Mike's gonna beat me today. So yeah, damn,
yeah.
not looking good. But yeah, I think my final thought is that is we're in a great place when it comes to basketball. We've got a lot of
Yeah.
young talent,
Yeah.
and not only that, we've got a lot of young talent coming in out of college. But I don't know if you're following this for this girl at Iowa State, Audi Brooks.
Mm,
She's averaging like 40 points a game,
buckets.
and they don't know what to do with her. Like she's like averaging 40, and I think her last game she had 42 points and 17 rebounds. Like she looks like Shaq at LSU. It is
Right.
it is crazy. So
Right.
so I think basketball is probably in general it's probably in its healthiest place it's been in a
Hmm.
while.
I agree.
I will beat this drum. Last year they were saying, "Oh, basketball is dead because the ratings are down," but now everything you just need the right you just need the right partners, man. You
You
just
do.
need the
You
right
do.
people. You just need the right eyeballs.
You do.
You can't win. You can't want people to win. And you're like, oh, we're gonna put LeBron on every week, but LeBron isn't playing every week because of his health.
Right. Right. Right.
You've got to show the people the new people. You got to show them
You
Shea. You
do.
got to
You
show them
do.
Halliburton. You got to show them all these. You got to show them the players. And then once you did, people were like, oh, you know what? Okay, I'm in now.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Progress must progress. At the end
exactly,
of
for
it. I'm
sure.
with you.
All right, man. All right, with that said, man, we signing out. That's Kev from Ohio. This is B More, man. Brought to you again by Southern Edge Beverage Company. We out.
We
Peace.
got.